There it is, everyone. It is the gun that I would be most likely to grab in a shit hits the fan scenario. That's it. That's the one. I have other guns, I have other SBRs, but if we are in America, big disclaimer, if we're stateside, shit popped off, that's the gun. What is it? It's a Knights SR15 CQB. I've got a love affair with this gun, I have to admit it, and it almost is embarrassing for me to say that because I've been calling HK lovers nut riders and all this stuff. We're really gonna wanna hone in on the HK nutsack. Not that I'm not accurate in that, it's accurate, but I think I might be a CAC nut rider. And a good one, right? I buy their shit. So we've got an 11.5 SBR. No, not a pistol, SBR. Will that make my life more difficult if I have to go out of state or not being able to leave it chambered in my vehicle? Sure, okay, I'll concede you that. But there's nothing more nice than a stock on an SBR. And to be perfectly honest, 11.5 has won my heart. It has won my heart. I have come to prefer it over 10.5. Also, influenced by the fact that I guess the USASOC report suggests that says that, hey look, 11.5, when it comes to a gun designed for smoking dudes, 11.5 of what you want. I guess ballistics, all that kind of stuff. They did their tests. Those boys know what they're talking about. 11.5 is the route. And this is it. This is what I built as that gun. So the SR15, give you a little rundown here, full ambi gun. And Jake's a lefty, right? There's magic in that hand. Everyone knows that geniuses are more commonly than not lefties. Sometimes redhead, we're a dying breed. Look, you combine redhead with lefty, I'm a fucking unicorn, everyone, okay? So I'm sure you'll chime in on the comments with no soul, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? I just beat you to the joke. I get it. We have no soul. Yes, you're probably right. Okay, so Factory Knights is obviously gonna be an awesome gun. There's some different things that I did. One being the safety. They have an ambi safety on it, but I don't like their factory safety at all. This side of the gun, the side of the gun that I'm actually using, it's like really flat and like it's not very tactile for the actual lefties. Or for those of you who don't run ambi safeties, even think about being a righty and switching shoulders, right? Like, you know, it's the same thing as an ambi safety on a 1911. It's probably a good idea to have, even if you're not lefty, just because, hey, what if you want to switch hands, run drills on the opposite shoulder? It's just, come on, it's just a good idea, everyone. So I threw on a Radian safety, threw on also a Radian charging handle. So threw on the Raptor, the suppressed version. Does it really make does the suppressed specific charging handle really make a difference? Meh. Not as best I can tell, to be perfectly honest with you, but it doesn't hurt anything, so why not throw that on if you're gonna be running your gun with a can on it. Optic, you could throw like a 1-6 or something on this. I just thought, hey, look, it's an 11.5, it's more of a CQB oriented rifle, and a red dot's gonna be perfectly fine taking you out a few hundred yards. So threw on the gold standard for red dots. What I would still say is, what's your guess? Correct, aim point. A lot of great red dots. I would still say aim point is the king of the castle on that one. So we've got an aim point. Surefire X300. I still like X300s on rifles just because they have the versatility to be able to take it off and throw it on a pistol. So I get the best of both. Look, it can run on a rifle, no problem, but I can take it off, throw it on a bedside gun, something like that. Surefire pressure pad. Make sure, just a little amateur tip to you, don't buy Surefire shit from Amazon. There's a lot of knockoffs, and if you go to you're like, oh, well, they've got the pressure pad on there. Just look at the reviews, okay? Because you're probably gonna see That's some Chinese knockoff shit, right? Knights iron sights are like, ooh, mine is currently coming off, tighten that down. But they're like the gold standard. Everyone geeks out on Knights iron sights. Granted, they're amazing, but frankly, they really don't get used much for me, so I don't really have a whole lot to say on that. Knights sends it with these little, kind of like rail scales, but they're plastic, but frankly, they are really nice, and it comes with the gun, so that's good. I'm throwing a Magpul vert grip, and then a suppressed platform on that. On the note of suppression as it comes to the Knights, I have another 10.5 rifle that when you run it suppressed, have fun. Like and especially again, as a lefty, you got to keep in mind, that's where my nose is. It's just sitting here, just sucking up all the gas. And Knights tunes these things really well. So when you're running this suppressed, I'm telling you, it is minimal gas that's coming back in your face. And that's coming from a lefty. So as a righty, it's even gonna be way better on top of that. So like super well optimized if you're gonna be running these suppressed, which let's be honest, come on. If you're gonna go to all the hassle to get one stamp, what's one more stamp, right? Just make it a double stamp gun. Okay, a couple other things about the Knights. It's got a hammer forged chrome line barrel. For those of the geeks that like that kind of stuff, it's cool. Chrome, you know, chrome's always good. The factory trigger, this was something I was very unsure about when it came in, because I always, or at least typically drop in like a Geisley or something like that. And I was like, I don't know, man, I've never had like a factory trigger in a gun. The factory trigger is a 2-stage match trigger. You know, I don't know how they define that, but honestly, it is good enough that I don't see any need to replace it. Like, a Geisley could be a little better, but honestly, it's good enough. So you're like, I don't need to fuck with that. And if that's what Knights putting in, obviously, you know, it's going to be reliable. I see no need to swap out the trigger on a Knights. Again, that's just me. Knights is I feel like it's a polarizing company, because the people that roll with Knights roll hard with Knights. And they're like, yo, Knights or die kind of shit. And hey, even me, I opened up this little discussion by saying, this is the gun that I built to be like the end-all, be-all AR for me. Now, the criticism that you would get would be, well, they've got proprietary parts. I certainly assume what people mean when they say that is it has a proprietary bolt. So it's got these rounded lugs that are designed to increase the life of the bolt. So a standard bolt, again, some of the internet warriors will probably correct me on this, but to my understanding, standard bolt life, you're looking at about 5,000 rounds, even though I'm sure a lot of people push beyond that. Knight rates their like factory standard bolt life to 20,000 rounds. So you get a bolt that's gonna last a lot longer. And again, if you went down the gun guy rabbit hole of, hey, the end all be all gun, I need it to last for a very long time without maintenance, you got a bolt that's gonna last a lot longer. And the cool thing is, I have not tested this, but the gun will run fine with a standard bolt that's not a Knights bolt. So you have the benefit of running their bolt. And if you ever had to, you could throw in a different bolt and you should be fine on that. So one of the reasons that I got a Knights, so frankly, I got this gun when it was last year. So it would have been 2019, when I can't remember what it was, but some shooting popped up. I think it was a school or something. Don't quote me on that, but it was whatever like the big gun scare was last year, where there was a shooting. And I was like, then the election's coming up this year, and I thought, you know what, like, I'd be okay if all I had was the stuff that I have, but I'd feel a lot better about heading into a politically challenged climate, having like one more like ride or die kind of AR. So I started asking around and just asking people who, there's plenty of people with opinions, everyone as a matter of fact, but I started asking the people whose opinions I trust, hey, if you were picking one AR to roll with, what would you take? And most commonly, Knights was the name that got dropped, which is why I bought this. One of the other reasons that I bought it is I have a history of buying guns from like boutique companies that sometimes go out of business, which is always really fun for me, having guns that can't be serviced by their original manufacturer anymore. And I thought, look, Knights ain't going anywhere, because I don't know the exact stat, but something to the effect of like 90% of their sales are to military contracts, and specifically like special operations oriented stuff. I mean, look, let's face it, that this is not, you know, your like average infantry guy is not getting issued an 11.5 Knights. And if those guys run the shit out of these things, one, you know, Knights is going to be around, which there's something to be said for that. Just having a company that you can actually get a hold of and will continue to exist. But two, there's really something to, look, if it's good enough for the guys who run these things, I mean, they're going to be infinitely harder on it than I would ever be. So it was just sort of like it was a bit of a calculated decision when I got this, because I thought, look, I need a company that's not going anywhere. I need a gun that's going to run, that's battle proven. And that was this gun. And that's why I bought it, to build as that one thing that if you could grab in a pinch, if you're looking at it, that's the gun. And I love it. And I don't have anything else to tell you. I love this gun.